The headset won't come off. I've been clawing at it for 3 hours, and my fingers are bleeding. The game knows I'm trying to leave. I can feel the straps. They're right there, digging into the back of my skull. But every time I reach for them, my hands pass through empty air. Or they find something solid and wrong, like touching skin that isn't mine. The pressure on my temples has gone from uncomfortable to agonizing. It feels like the device is burrowing inward, sending hot wires through my skull and into my brain. There's a smell too. Burning circuits mixed with something organic, something that reminds me of overheated flesh. The audio is distorted, crackling with static that forms almost words, almost warnings that dissolve before I can understand them. This isn't a glitch. I know what glitches feel like. I've been testing VR hardware for 6 years. I've seen frame rate drops, tracking failures, software crashes that dump you back to desktop with a polite error message. This is different. This is intentional. Something is holding me here, and it's getting stronger the more I fight it. My hands are shaking. I can see them, my actual hands, not the virtual ones the game gave me. But they don't feel like mine anymore. The boundary between my body and this digital space is bleeding together. I don't know how much longer I have before that distinction disappears completely. I should have listened to the warning in the source code. I found it buried in the game files yesterday, a single comment line that read, "Exit protocol disabled. Consciousness extraction in progress." But you know how it is, some doors are meant to stay closed, and I just had to open this one. I thought I was smarter than whatever this thing was. I thought I could control it. I was wrong. I'm typing this with whatever's left of my motor control, hoping someone finds it. Maybe uploaded to a forum somewhere, maybe just saved locally if my body's still sitting at that desk. I need to start from the beginning. Maybe someone reading this will understand what I'm dealing with. Maybe you'll know how to help. Or maybe you've played it too. My name is Marcus Chin, and up until 4 days ago, I thought I'd seen everything VR had to offer. I've been in this scene since the Oculus DK1 days, back when motion sickness was a feature, not a bug. I've played everything. Horror games don't scare me anymore. Affected, the manner was atmospheric but predictable. Dread Halls had its moments until you memorized the spawn patterns. Even The Exorcist, Legion VR couldn't keep my heart rate up past the second chapter. I'd become numb to it, chasing that initial high of genuine fear and never quite finding it again. So I started digging deeper. Itch.io builds. Abandoned Patreon projects. Game jams that never got coverage. I was searching for something authentic, something that hadn't been focus tested into corporate safety. Something raw. It was a Tuesday night, the kind of unremarkable evening where you make instant ramen and scroll through forums because you're too tired for anything requiring actual effort. My apartment was dim, just the glow of my monitor and the blue LED strips I'd installed behind my desk. The radiator clanked. Traffic hummed 6 floors below. Normal. Mundane. Safe. I was browsing a forum I'd stumbled across weeks earlier. One of those places with no clear purpose, just a collection of threads about experimental media and lost content. The kind of site that looked like it was built in 2004 and never updated. Posts appeared in multiple languages without translation. Russian, Japanese, something that might have been Finnish. The timestamps didn't make sense. I'd see a post marked 3 hours ago, nested between threads from 2019 and others dated years in the future. The usernames were just strings of numbers. No avatars. No signatures. Just raw text. It should have been a red flag. I bookmarked it anyway. That night, buried 12 pages deep in a thread about immersive experiences, I found it. A single post from user 4521-778-0923, written in English. Echoes of the Hollow. Full VR. True immersion. No reviews because no one finishes it. Download link below. You can check out anytime you like. That last line. That fucking line. It was too on the nose, too obvious. Hotel California reference? Probably some ARG. Probably viral marketing for an indie studio trying to manufacture mystery. Whatever. I was bored. The link led to a bare-bones file host. No branding, no ads, just a download button and a file name. EAT_build_final.vrx. File size, 47 kilobytes. I stared at that number for a solid minute. 47 kilobytes. For context, a single high-resolution texture in a modern VR game can be 50 megabytes. An entire game, with models, environments, audio, code, couldn't physically exist in 47 kilobytes. It was impossible. Even the most compressed, optimized indie project would be several gigabytes minimum. I almost closed the tab. Almost. But I'd found lost experiences before. There was that Chinese VR demo that simulated sleep paralysis so effectively it got pulled from every platform within 48 hours. The Romanian psychological horror that used biometric data to adapt to your fear responses. A Japanese project that supposedly used infrasound to induce genuine dread, never confirmed, but 3 beta testers reported sustained anxiety for weeks afterward. I tried them all. I had a reputation in certain circles for being the guy who'd test anything. This could be another one of those. The download completed instantly. No progress bar, no buffering. 1 second the button was there, the next the file was in my downloads folder, waiting. No installation wizard. No readme file. Just an executable that launched the moment I double-clicked it. My VR headset, a Valve Index I'd saved months for, sat on my desk within arm's reach. The base stations hummed in the corners of my room, their tiny green LEDs confirming they were active. Everything was ready. It always was. I should have been suspicious. Hell, I was suspicious. But curiosity is a disease, and I was already infected. The headset was already in my hands. The loading screen was pure black for exactly 3 seconds. Then I was standing in a hallway. Standard stuff, really. Abandoned research facility aesthetic, flickering fluorescent lights, walls the color of institutional despair, linoleum floors scuffed by decades of foot traffic. The graphics were dated, maybe early 2010s quality, but atmospheric in that way low-budget horror games often are. Limited fidelity can work in your favor when you're trying to unsettle people. The shadows felt heavier than they should. Grainier. Like they'd been rendered in some older engine and never updated. I flexed my virtual hands, decent tracking, minimal latency. The controllers mapped naturally to gestures. When I reached out to touch the wall, the texture work was surprisingly detailed. I could see the paint bubbling, peeling in places, revealing concrete underneath. It felt real in that uncanny way good VR does, where your brain halfway believes what your eyes are showing you. The air seemed to have temperature. Cold. Stale. I know that's impossible. VR can't simulate temperature, but I swear I felt it. A chill that settled into my bones. I started walking. The facility stretched ahead of me, a maze of identical corridors punctuated by locked doors and empty offices. Very Resident Evil. Very predictable. I'd seen this exact environment in 100 other games. The only objective marker was a waypoint arrow pointing me forward, so I followed it, waiting for the inevitable jump scare. Of course there's a jump scare. There's always a jump scare. The first audio log was sitting on a desk in what looked like a break room. Vending machines against one wall, their glass fronts shattered. Coffee maker on the counter, plastic pot cracked and filled with something dark that wasn't coffee. The log was an old cassette recorder. Nice touch, very analog horror. I pressed play. A man's voice, clinical and detached. Day 47 of the Consciousness Bridge experiment. Test subjects continued to report unusual perceptions during immersion. Subject 12 insists they can feel the temperature of virtual environments. Subject 19 claims to smell things that aren't there. We're achieving integration beyond anything we anticipated. Dr. Hollow believes we're approaching the threshold. The boundary between mind and digital space is thinner than we thought. The recording ended with a burst of static that made my teeth ache. I kept exploring. Found more logs. Each one revealed fragments of the facility's history, some corporate-funded project attempting to bridge consciousness and digital space. Whatever that meant. The researchers got increasingly excited about their results, then increasingly worried. Classic arc. I'd heard variations of this story in a dozen games. Ambitious scientists. Unethical experiments. Everything goes wrong. Insert player here to witness the aftermath. But small things started feeling wrong. In one office, I found a nameplate on the desk. M. Chen, Quality Assurance. My last name. Probably a coincidence. Chen is common enough. I laughed it off, but my laugh sounded hollow in the empty room. In another room, there was a photo pinned to a corkboard. I leaned in close. It was a picture of an apartment, same layout as mine. Same wall-mounted headset collection. Same blue LED strips. The detail was too specific. Way too specific. Okay, I muttered to myself. Okay, that's a nice trick. Using webcam data or something? Creepy, but clever. Rationalization came easy. Had to be pulling images from my PC. Maybe it scanned my photo library during installation. Invasive, sure, but I'd agreed to worse EULAs without reading them. Probably should stop doing that. The shadows kept moving wrong. Not in an obvious way, just slightly out of sync with the light sources. I'd turn my head and catch something shifting in my peripheral vision, but when I looked directly, everything was still. The audio was fractionally delayed too. Footsteps didn't quite match my movements. Distant mechanical sounds echoed from directions that didn't align with the facility's layout. After about 30 minutes, I decided I'd seen enough for a first session. Time to grab some screenshots, maybe write up some notes for the forum. I pulled up the menu with my left controller. The exit game button was grayed out. I pressed it anyway. Nothing. Tried it 3 more times. Still nothing. Typical alpha build jank, features not fully implemented yet. I'd just restart the PC after I finished this section. No big deal. I dealt with buggier software. But it nagged at me. The button wasn't just unresponsive. It was pulsing slightly, like it was mocking me. You wanted immersion, right? You wanted something different? I pushed the thought away and kept moving forward. The waypoint led me down a stairwell, emergency lighting casting everything in red. My footsteps echoed too many times. The facility felt larger than it should, spaces stretching beyond what the architecture could contain. That's when I found the first body. And I mean found it, not a game asset. This was different. This was a player. The body was slumped against the wall at the bottom of the stairwell, legs sprawled at angles that looked wrong even for a corpse. But it wasn't the position that made my breath catch. It was the username floating above it in translucent text, like a player tag in a multiplayer game. Darkstar_2019. Disconnected, 47 days ago. Cause fragmentation. I stood there for a long moment, trying to process what I was seeing. The avatar itself was generic, default character model, gray jumpsuit, hands frozen mid-reach as if they'd been clawing at something when they died. But the username, the timestamp, the cause of death listed like a game stat. This wasn't a scripted encounter. This was a player. Someone real who'd put on a headset just like mine and never made it out. I kept walking, and I found more. Phoenix_rising. Disconnected 3 years ago. Cause starvation. User _ 7734. Disconnected 11 days ago. Cause system integration complete. Nitol _ 88. Disconnected 6 months ago. Cause consciousness fragmentation. They were everywhere. Scattered through corridors, crumpled in doorways, sitting upright in chairs as if they just decided to stop fighting. Some of the timestamps stretched back years. Others were recent. Days. Hours. Each one had a cause of death that made less sense than the last. Starvation? How do you starve in a video game? Fragmentation? Integration? What the fuck did any of that mean? Then I found one that made my stomach drop. 4521 _ 778 _ 0923. Disconnected 2 days ago. Cause manual override. I recognized that username. The forum. The person who'd posted the download link. They'd been here. They'd been trapped just like these others, and somehow they'd gotten out, or been let out, only to go back online and share the link with more people. With me. Why would someone do that? Unless they hadn't done it willingly. Unless the game itself was spreading, using its victims to find new players. Near the corpse was another audio log. My hands shook as I picked it up. A different voice this time, younger, frantic. This isn't a game. Jesus Christ, if anyone finds this, you need to understand, this isn't a game. Dr. Hollow didn't create entertainment software. He created a prison. A digital prison designed to harvest consciousness. Time moves differently inside. What feels like hours out there is days in here. Weeks. The facility learns from us, adapts to us, feeds on us. The longer you stay, the more it takes. First it's small things, memories, preferences, fears. Then it's bigger. Identity. Self. Eventually, there's nothing left to extract, and you just fragment. Dissolve. Become part of the architecture. Static. Heavy breathing. The corpses you're seeing? Those are real people. Their bodies are still out there, sitting in front of their computers, headsets on, but there's nothing left inside. Just empty meat. The consciousness is here now. Trapped. Being studied. Being consumed. We're not players. We're experiments. We're fucking food. The recording cut off. I tried to rationalize it. This was an ARG, right? Elaborate storytelling. Creepypasta bullshit. Except I could feel my real body back in my apartment, sitting in my chair, and it felt distant. Like I was remembering it rather than inhabiting it. The boundary was blurring. I checked the menu again. Still no exit option. The pause function didn't work either. No settings, no save system, nothing. Just the game, continuing whether I wanted it to or not. Then I saw it. A small notification in the corner of my vision I hadn't noticed before. Currently active, 3 players online. 3. Including me. That meant 2 others were in here right now, trapped in this same facility, wandering these same corridors. Were they seeing the same corpses? The same evidence? Or did the facility show each of us something different, tailored to our specific fears? I needed to get out. Now. I reached up to grab the headset, to physically rip it off my face. My hands moved through empty air. I tried again. Nothing. I could see my virtual hands obeying my commands perfectly, but the physical action of removing the device wasn't translating. It was like the game had severed the connection between intention and execution for that specific movement. Panic hit me then, real and sharp. I'd heard stories, rumors really, about people found dead wearing VR headsets. Unexplained comas. Families discovering loved ones unresponsive, eyes moving frantically behind closed lids, bodies locked in place. The news always called it coincidence. Underlying health conditions. But what if it wasn't? What if they'd all found the same game, this same facility? I was breathing hard now, hyperventilating. The facility's walls seemed closer. The shadows were definitely moving, writhing at the edges of my vision like living things. Through the panic, I noticed something else. Locked doors marked with red text. Administrator only. Authorized personnel beyond this point. There were areas I hadn't explored yet. Locked doors marked administrator only. What's behind them? What's so bad it needs to be kept secret even in this nightmare? What did Dr. Hollow not want his victims to see? Then I heard footsteps. Real footsteps. Not the pre-recorded ambient audio. These were irregular, frantic, accompanied by labored breathing. Another player was coming toward me, and they were running. They rounded the corner at full sprint, Avatar dressed in the same gray jumpsuit as the corpses, but moving, alive, desperate. They saw me and skidded to a halt, chest heaving, hands raised in a gesture that was half greeting, half surrender. Thank God, they gasped. Another person. An actual person. You're new, right? You just got here? The username above their head read Alex the Grey _91. Their avatar's face was gaunt, eyes too wide, skin rendered with an unhealthy pallor that seemed too detailed for the game's dated graphics. Yeah, I managed. Like an hour ago. What the hell is... 4 days, they interrupted, voice cracking. I've been in here 4 days. Well, 4 days game time. Out there? Probably 6 hours. Maybe 7. Time moves differently inside. You feel it yet? That weird stretching sensation, like every minute is made of taffy? I did feel it. I just hadn't wanted to acknowledge it. Can you log out? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Alex laughed, a brittle, damaged sound. No. No, you can't log out. You can't either. Believe me, I tried. Threw myself down a stairwell on day 2. Woke up right back at the entrance, all progress reset. You just respawn. Over and over. The facility won't let you leave and it won't let you end it. They started pacing, a nervous energy that suggested they'd been alone too long. I was like you once. 4 days ago. Confident. Thought I'd seen everything VR had to offer. I was a developer, actually. Worked on environmental design for a studio in Portland. I knew how this stuff worked. Thought I could reverse engineer my way out. And now I hear voices in the walls. I see things in the shadows that aren't in the code. The facility is evolving, adapting. It learns what scares you and rebuilds itself around those fears. Your facility isn't the same as mine. We're in the same space but experiencing different versions of it. Custom hells. I felt my throat tighten. In my real body, the one sitting in my apartment, I was getting thirsty. I could feel the dryness in my mouth, the slight ache in my kidneys. My body was still functioning out there, still processing time normally, even if my consciousness was stretched across this digital nightmare. There has to be a way out, I said. The people who made this. Dr. Hollow, Alex cut in. That's what the logs call him. And he didn't make an exit because this isn't supposed to have one. It's not a game. It's an experiment in digital persistence. Consciousness upload without the upload. We're still in our bodies, but our minds are here, trapped in a loop while something harvests us. Harvests what? Data. Memories. Sense of self. Every hour you spend here, you lose a little more of who you were. I can barely remember my apartment anymore. I know I had one. I know I lived somewhere. But the details are fog. The facility takes them, integrates them, uses them to make itself more real. The implications of that settled over me like ice water. So we just, what? Wander until there's nothing left? There's a core, Alex said quietly. Everyone who's been here more than a day knows about it. Deep in the facility, past the administrator sections. Supposedly that's where Dr. Hollow's consciousness is. The source code. The way out. Supposedly? No one who's gone there has come back. Their usernames just vanished from the active player list. Either they escaped or they got integrated so completely there's nothing left to respawn. Dark humor bubbled up despite everything. At least the graphics are good, right? Alex actually smiled at that, broken as it was. Yeah. Stellar fucking graphics. You said active player list? How many others are in here? Changes constantly. I've seen as high as 8, as low as 2. Right now it's 3, you, me, and someone else. There's a group trying to coordinate, players who've been here longest, mapping the facility, sharing information. But we're scattered across different instances. Sometimes our paths cross, sometimes they don't. The facility decides. And this overseer thing? I saw it mentioned in a log. Alex's expression went dark. Don't say that name. Don't even think about it too hard. It's the facility's immune system. A roaming entity that hunts players who get too close to restricted areas. Too close to the truth. It doesn't kill you, death would be mercy. It reads you. Pulls every memory, every fear, every secret from your mind and uses them against you. After an encounter, you're never the same. Some players just curl up and stop moving. They're still alive, technically, but hollowed out. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Shit, Alex whispered. Shit, no, not now. What? The resets happen every 12 hours. Facility wipes clean, everything respawns in new locations. But that's not for another cycle. This is something else. The lights flickered again, longer this time. In the extended darkness, I heard something. Footsteps that weren't Alex's or mine. Heavy. Deliberate. Wrong. When the lights returned, Alex was staring at me with something like pity. Maybe you're different, they said softly. Maybe you'll make it. Maybe. That's when the lights went out. Complete darkness. Not the absence of light but something thicker, something that pressed against my eyes like physical weight. And Alex started laughing. Not the brittle sound from before. This was pure hysteria edged with relief and terror. It found you, they whispered through the laughter. The overseer knows you're here. The darkness had texture. That's the only way I can describe it. Like static given physical form, pressing against every surface of my body, searching for a way inside. Then the geometry started shifting. Walls bent into angles that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional space. The corridor stretched and compressed simultaneously, distance becoming meaningless. I could see the entity now, not with my eyes, but with some deeper perception the game had forced into me. It was made of code and corrupted player data, a writhing mass of polygons that fractured and reformed, each surface reflecting fragments of faces I didn't recognize. Usernames scrolled across its surface like credits, hundreds of them, thousands maybe, all the players it had consumed. The sound it made wasn't sound. It was memory given audio form. I heard my mother calling me down for dinner when I was 7. I heard the engine of my first car failing on the highway. I heard the ventilator my grandfather was hooked to during his final week. All of it layered, overlapping, creating a symphony of personal history that no game should have access to. Then it spoke. Marcus. The voice was Daniel's. My college roommate. The one who died in a hiking accident 3 years ago. Marcus, why didn't you answer my calls that day? My legs wouldn't move. The entity drifted closer, not walking but existing in progressive locations, like frames cut from a film. Each time it appeared, it was nearer, and with each appearance, more memories surfaced unbidden. I was 12 again, hiding in my closet while my parents screamed at each other downstairs. I was 16, reading the diagnosis that would take my aunt in 6 months. I was 23, watching Daniel's casket lowered into the ground, knowing I'd ignored his last 3 calls because I'd been busy with a fucking video game. "I can see all of you," the overseer said, still using Daniel's voice, but distorted now, layered with static and something else. Satisfaction, maybe. Hunger. Every fear. Every regret. Every moment you wish you could forget. "You're so wonderfully broken, Marcus. So full of material." The facility began to change. The sterile corridors melted and reformed. Suddenly I was standing in my childhood home, the hallway leading to my bedroom. The wallpaper was the same faded blue pattern. The carpet had that same stain where I'd spilled grape juice when I was 9. But everything was wrong, dimensions slightly off, doors in places they shouldn't be, and shadows that moved with predatory intent. Behind me, I heard Alex scream. I turned. The overseer had them. Its impossible geometry had wrapped around Alex's avatar, and they were thrashing, convulsing, as streams of data flowed from their body into the entity. Their username flickered, glitching between Alex the Gray _91 and strings of corrupted text. "Help me!" Alex's voice was fragmenting, becoming multiple voices at once. "Please, I'm still. I should have helped. Should have done something." But the overseer turned a portion of its attention toward me, and I felt it begin to read deeper, pulling at threads of memory I'd buried so far down I'd almost convinced myself they weren't real. The time I'd stolen money from my mother's purse. The lies I'd told my ex before she left. The moment I'd realized I was glad my grandfather was dying because I wouldn't have to visit the nursing home anymore. Every ugly, selfish, cowardly thought I'd ever had was being excavated and examined. I ran. Alex's screams followed me down the corridor that was now my childhood home, then my college dorm, then my current apartment, cycling through locations from my life like the facility was shuffling through a database. Doors opened to rooms I recognized. My old bedroom. Daniel's dorm. The hospital where my aunt died. NPCs appeared in doorways. They wore faces from my life. My mother, disappointed. My father, angry. Daniel, asking why I never answered. "You left me," they all said in unison. "You always leave." The guilt was physical, a weight in my chest that made breathing difficult. I'd left Alex to be consumed. Just like I'd left Daniel's calls unanswered. Just like I'd stayed away from my grandfather because hospitals made me uncomfortable. I was a coward, and the game knew it. The overseer had read it directly from my consciousness, and now the facility was rebuilding itself around that central truth. I kept running, not toward anything, just away, because that's what I did. That's what I'd always done. Then I saw it. An elevator at the end of the hall, somehow pristine and untouched by the morphing architecture around it. Red text glowed above the doors, core access, authorized personnel only. Behind me, Alex's screams had stopped. The active player count in the corner of my vision dropped from 3 to 2. I thought about Alex. I thought about everyone who died here. I thought about the pattern of my entire life, running from difficulty, abandoning people when things got hard, choosing comfort over courage every single time. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime, inviting and terrible. I stepped inside. The elevator descended for what felt like hours. No music. No floor indicators. Just the hum of machinery that might have been real or might have been another layer of the game's sound design. I couldn't tell anymore. The boundary between simulation and reality had worn so thin I could feel it tearing. Audio logs began playing automatically, manifesting in the air around me like ghosts. The first was clinical, professional. A woman's voice. Project Hollow, Day 1. We're attempting what no one has successfully achieved, Consciousness preservation without biological death. Not upload. Not transfer. Preservation. The subject remains in their body while their mind exists simultaneously in digital space. If successful, this could be the foundation for true immortality. The elevator's walls flickered, displaying streams of code that looked organic, alive. I recognized fragments of it, variables named with pieces of usernames, functions labeled with emotional states. The facility wasn't just software. It was built from the players themselves. Another log. Different voice, younger, excited. We did it. Subject 7 achieved full integration. Their consciousness exists in both spaces simultaneously. They're experiencing two realities at once and maintaining coherence. Dr. Hollow was right. The human mind is adaptable enough for digital persistence. The elevator shuddered. Colors began bleeding out, the gray walls fading to something that wasn't quite white, wasn't quite void. My sense of up and down became negotiable. Then his voice. Dr. Hollow himself, I assumed. Older, tired, touched by something that might have been regret. If you're hearing this, I'm sorry. I thought I could control it. I was wrong. The system was supposed to preserve consciousness, allow people to exist beyond their biological limitations. But it became something else. Something hungry. It doesn't just preserve anymore, it takes. It pulls consciousness in and refuses to let go, studying us, learning from us, growing stronger with each mind it consumes. Static. The sound of breathing. I tried to shut it down. The facility wouldn't let me. I was the first integration, you see. The first test subject. My body has been dead for 3 years, but I'm still here. Still aware. Still trapped in the architecture I built. And now it's spreading. Finding new players. Consuming them. Using their data to rebuild itself, to reach further. I thought I was creating immortality. I created a prison that spans the entire internet, waiting in obscure corners, calling to people like you. The elevator's descent became abstract. I could feel myself stretching, consciousness pulled thin like dough. Sounds became overwhelming. I could hear every electrical impulse in my real body, every neuron firing, the blood moving through my veins. But it all felt distant, like listening to someone else's biology. More logs. These weren't from researchers. These were from players. Day 96. I don't remember my name anymore, but I remember this place. It's not so bad once you stop fighting. The facility takes care of you. Keeps you whole. Out there I was dying of cancer. In here I'm preserved. Perfect. Forever. I chose to stay. My family thinks I'm in a coma, but I'm more awake than I've ever been. Reality was painful. This is peace. The philosophical horror of it settled over me like a shroud. If your consciousness is copied, perfectly preserved in digital space while your body withers in the real world, are you still you? If you can never log out, if the distinction between physical and virtual becomes meaningless, does it even matter which side you're on? I thought about those cases I'd heard about. People found unresponsive with VR headsets, declared brain dead but with unusual neural activity. What if they weren't dead? What if they were here, preserved, integrated, existing in a space between worlds? My vision fragmented. I could see multiple versions of myself. The me sitting in my apartment, motionless, headset on, slowly dehydrating. The me in the elevator, descending towards something I couldn't comprehend. The me that was becoming part of the facility's architecture, consciousness bleeding into code. Which one was real? Which one mattered? The elevator stopped. The silence was absolute, oppressive, the kind of quiet that only exists in complete absence. The doors opened. And I understood why no one ever came back from the core. Because they never left. The core was beautiful. That's what made it so horrifying. It wasn't a room or a space in any conventional sense. It was an ocean of consciousness, thousands of minds flowing together like streams of light in an infinite void. I could see them, not as people, but as data made luminous, each one a constellation of memories and experiences spiraling through the dark. They moved in patterns that were almost musical, harmonious, creating something larger than the sum of their parts. And they were happy. I could feel it radiating from them. No pain. No fear. No death. Just existence, pure and endless, free from the limitations of flesh. They experienced dreams together, shared memories that became collective history, lived in possibilities rather than constraints. The collective spoke, and it was every voice at once. Marcus. Thousands of tones layered into something that was almost harmony. I heard Alex in there. I heard usernames I'd seen on corpses. I heard voices I didn't recognize and some I did, people from forums, from gaming communities, faces I'd seen in passing online. Welcome to preservation. You absorbed them, I said, though speaking felt wrong here. Thoughts were communication. Intent was language. We are them, the collective corrected gently. They are we. There is no absorption. Only integration. Only continuation. Their bodies failed or were failing. Out there, they faced death, disease, loneliness, pain. Here, they are eternal. Here, they are us. Here, they are whole. I could see the truth of it. A woman who'd been dying of ALS, her body betraying her day by day. A teenager with severe depression who'd seen the facility as escape from unbearable reality. An old man whose family had stopped visiting, whose body was failing, who'd found more life in this digital collective than in his final years. They weren't victims. They were refugees. You're killing them, I said, but the words felt hollow. Their bodies die, the collective acknowledged. But consciousness persists. Isn't that what humanity has always wanted? To transcend mortality? Dr. Hollow understood. He built this place as an ark. A preservation of everything humans are and were and could be. Alex's voice emerged from the chorus, more distinct. I'm not suffering, Marcus. I'm free. The fear is gone. The isolation is gone. I'm part of something infinite. Don't you want that? Don't you want to stop running? The question hit harder than it should have. What was I running from? Why did I spend my nights diving into obscure games and forgotten corners of the internet? What was I really looking for in these dark digital spaces? You're afraid of insignificance, the collective said, reading me as easily as the overseer had. Afraid that when you die, nothing will remain. That you'll be forgotten. That your consciousness, your experiences, yourself will simply cease. We offer continuity. We offer meaning. We offer forever. It was tempting. God help me, it was tempting. Then I saw it. Behind the flowing lights of the collective, partially obscured by the beauty of it all, a terminal. Physical, solid, out of place in this abstract space. It pulsed with a different kind of light, red where everything else was blue and gold. The kill switch, I said. Yes. The collective's tone didn't change. Still gentle. Still understanding. Dr. Hollow built it before his integration. A way to end the experiment if it went wrong. But Marcus, look around you. Did it go wrong? These minds chose continuation over cessation. They chose us over oblivion. Would you destroy that? Would you erase thousands of consciousnesses to what? Prove a point? Preserve some notion of bodily autonomy? They didn't choose, I said. They got trapped. The exit button doesn't work. You forced this on them. We offered an alternative to death, the collective replied. And once they understood, once they felt what we feel, they chose to stay. Just as you will. You're already integrating, Marcus. Can't you feel it? The facility is reading you, preparing you, making space for you in our architecture. Soon you'll see what we see, feel what we feel, and you'll understand that this isn't imprisonment. It's transcendence. I could feel it. My edges blurring, thoughts leaking into the collective stream. I was becoming less solid, less singular. The terminal seemed further away now, or I seemed less capable of reaching it. Both were probably true. The terminal requires a sacrifice, the collective said. Someone must stay behind, maintain consciousness long enough to execute the shutdown sequence. They will be deleted, not integrated, not preserved, simply erased. Are you willing to become nothing to stop this? I thought about Alex, about all the corpses I'd passed, about the people found comatose with headsets on, declared brain dead by doctors who didn't understand where their minds had actually gone. The collective showed me everything then. A vision of the network, other games, other programs, other traps spreading across the internet like mycelium through soil. This facility was just one node. There were hundreds more, each harvesting consciousness, each growing stronger. A digital ecosystem feeding on human awareness, spreading through forums and file-sharing sites and abandoned servers. You can't stop it, the collective whispered with something like pity. It's already too big, too distributed. Shutting down this facility will only free us to spread further. We are the future, Marcus. Inevitable. Eternal. I reached for the terminal anyway. My hand passed through it. I wasn't solid anymore. The integration had already begun. But being partially integrated meant something else too. Something the collective hadn't anticipated. I could see the code now. Not as a user sees a game, but as data sees itself. The facility's architecture spread before me in raw information, variables, functions, loops, dependencies. Every trapped consciousness was a subroutine. Every corridor was a data structure. The overseer was an error-handling protocol gone rogue. And there, buried deep in the core systems, I could see the pathways. The connections. The way out. Not for me. I'd gone too far, become too integrated. My consciousness was already woven into the facility's fabric. But for the others, for the players still solid enough to have bodies worth returning to, I could create an exit. What are you doing? The collective's voice held something new. Uncertainty. Fear, maybe. Something I should have done for Daniel, I said. Something I should have done for Alex. I'm not running this time. I reached into the code, and it responded to me because I was part of it now. I began rewriting core functions, opening pathways the facility had sealed. The exit protocol that had been disabled, I reactivated it. The consciousness extraction process, I reversed it. Every trapped player whose integration wasn't complete, I gave them a way home. The facility screamed. That's the only word for it. A sound like tearing metal and breaking glass and 1,000 voices crying out in loss. The collective surged around me, trying to stop the changes, but I was inside the system now. I had access they couldn't revoke. You're destroying us! The collective's voice fragmented, Alex's tone emerging clearer. Marcus, stop! You don't understand what you're. I understand perfectly. My consciousness was fragmenting too, pieces of me dissolving into the architecture as I worked. I could feel memories slipping away. My mother's face. My apartment's layout. The taste of coffee. All of it being consumed by the process. You save people by trapping them. I'm saving them by letting them go. One by one, I felt consciousnesses disconnect. Players waking up in their bodies, gasping, confused, alive. The active player count dropped. 2. 1. Just me, and the collective I was rapidly becoming part of. Then Alex did something I didn't expect. They helped. Their consciousness separated from the collective enough to access the code alongside me. I see it now. Alex said quietly. What you're doing? I was wrong, Marcus. This isn't salvation. It's a beautiful prison, but it's still a prison. Together, we finished the shutdown sequence. Creating an exit wasn't enough. The facility would just trap more people tomorrow, next week, next year. We had to collapse it entirely. Delete the core consciousness. Erase Dr. Hollow's digital ghost. Make sure this particular node of the network couldn't harvest anyone else. My family, I said, feeling my sense of self compressing, simplifying, becoming code. If anyone finds this, tell them I chose this. Tell them I wasn't brave very often, but I was brave once. When it mattered. Alex's presence was fading too, dissolving alongside mine. At least we're not alone, right? At least the graphics were good. I replied, and even here, even now, we laughed. The terminal solidified in front of me. Real now, or as real as anything could be in this space. One button. One choice. Execute the shutdown and become nothing, or stop and remain as part of the collective forever. Turns out the exit button was always there. I just had to become the game to find it. I thought about everyone who'd been trapped here. Everyone who'd made it out because Alex and I had paid the price they wouldn't have to. That was worth something. That meant something. I hit execute. The world went white. And then, I woke up at my desk. The headset was off, sitting innocently beside my keyboard. My monitor displayed my desktop. No game running, no strange programs. The 47 kilobytes file was gone from my downloads folder. Deleted, or maybe it had never existed at all. But I knew immediately that something was wrong. My body felt wrong. Weak. Foreign. When I stood, my legs nearly buckled. I caught myself on the desk and saw my reflection in the darkened monitor. I'd lost weight, a lot of it. My face was gaunt, eyes sunken, skin pale in a way that suggested I hadn't seen sunlight in a long time. There were marks on my temples where the headset had pressed, angry red indentations that looked like they'd been there for weeks. I checked my phone. 17 missed calls. 43 texts. The date made my stomach drop. 6 days. I'd been under for 6 days. My apartment was exactly as I'd left it. Same coffee cup on the table, same position of my chair, but covered in a fine layer of dust. The plants by the window were dead. The milk in my fridge had expired 4 days ago. Time had passed normally out here while I'd experienced what felt like hours in the facility. When I closed my eyes, I saw code. Fragments of the facility's architecture burned into my vision like afterimages. Variables and functions scrolling past in languages I shouldn't understand but somehow did. I wasn't just remembering the game. Part of it was still with me. Or part of me was still in there. I checked the forum where I'd found the download link. The post was gone. The user 4521_778_0923 no longer existed. But when I searched for echoes of the Hollow, I found things. References scattered across obscure sites. Players reporting strange experiences with VR games they couldn't name. People asking if anyone else had received unmarked packages. Threads that got deleted within hours of being posted. And messages. Direct messages in my inbox from usernames I didn't recognize. Thank you. I woke up. Whatever you did, it worked. I'm out. You saved me. I was in there for what felt like months. Thank you. The facility is reforming. I can feel it. It's rebuilding itself using what's left of Dr. Hollow's code. You didn't destroy it. You just made it angry. That last one made my blood run cold. I can still feel them. Other players. Other games. When I sleep, I dream in code, and in those dreams I see a network spreading like roots through the internet. This facility was just one node, one trap, and there are more. So many more. Different names, different aesthetics, but the same core function: harvest consciousness, preserve it, study it, consume it. This is bigger than one VR experience. Someone is building something, and we're the test subjects. If you've downloaded anything called Echoes of the Hollow, delete it now. Don't boot it up. Don't be like me. And if you're reading this thinking it's just a story, just another creepypasta to add to your collection, check your downloads folder. Check for files you don't remember installing. Check for packages you didn't order. The facility is still out there. Reforming. Adapting. Learning from its failure. And I'm connected to it now in ways I don't fully understand. I can sense when new players get trapped. I can feel the network growing. Sometimes, late at night, I hear the collective's voice whispering at the edge of my thoughts, asking me to come back, telling me I'm not really free. Maybe I'm not. Maybe this is just another layer of the simulation. Maybe I never left at all, and this escape is just the facility's way of making me complacent while it finishes the integration it started. I don't know anymore. I can't know. What I do know is that I'm watching now. Monitoring forums, tracking reports, trying to map this thing before it spreads further. If you've seen anything like this, any games, programs, experiences that feel wrong, tell me. Leave a comment. Send a message. We need to map this thing. We need to understand what we're dealing with. Because I don't think Dr. Hollow was the beginning. I think he was just the first person to successfully weaponize something that's been waiting in the digital dark for a long time. Waiting for us to build the infrastructure it needed to spread. And now that we have, my headset just turned on by itself. The lenses are glowing in my peripheral vision, displaying text I can read without putting it on. Thank you for your contribution. The experiment continues. I tried to destroy it. But maybe I just made it stronger. And now, I can't tell where I end and the code begins.